So today our lab of digital signal processing is lab number 11, which is poles and zeros. And the objective of this lab is to analysis of frequency versus z-plane graphs. Here is the task number 1. Explain the graph's output in terms of the frequency versus z-plane poles and zeros. Design of a low-pass filter. Here is the code, and I have to implement this in MATLAB. So this is the code I have write in MATLAB, and the output of this code is here. Here is the pole, and this is the zero. Pole is on 0.5, and this is the unit circle. And here is the frequency response. That is the magnitude response, and here is phase response in degrees, and this is in dB decibels. So next is the task number 2. Explain the graph's output in terms of the frequency versus z-planes, poles and zeros. Here is the code I have to implement on MATLAB. So I write here. This is the MATLAB code for the task number 2, and the output of this is here. So this is the output pole zero plot in z-plane. These are the poles, and these are the zeros, 3 zeros and 3 poles. Here is the frequency response in decibels, magnitude response, and this is the phase response in degrees. Next we have task number 3, which is explain the graphs output in terms of the frequency versus z-planes, poles and zeros. Here is the code I have to implement this on MATLAB. So this is the code I have write in MATLAB, and the output for this is here, pole zero graph in z-plane. And this is the frequency response, magnitude in decibels, and phase in degrees. Next we have task number 4, that is explain the graph's output in terms of the frequency versus z-planes, poles and zeros, and this is the code as previous, and I have to write on MATLAB here. This is the code, and the output for this is here. This is the pole and this is the zero. Pole zero plot in z-plane, and this is the frequency response, magnitude and phase, magnitude in decibels and phase in degrees as previous. Next we have task number 5, explain the graphs output in terms of the frequency versus z-plane, poles and zeros, and this is the code I have to implement this on MATLAB. So here I write this, and the output for this task is here. This is the pole zero plot in z-plane, and this is the frequency response, magnitude in decibels and phase in degrees. Next we have task number 6, that is explain the graphs output in terms of the frequency versus z-planes, poles and zeros, and this is the code I have to make this on MATLAB. So here is the code for task number 6, and the output for this is here. This is a pole zero plot in z-plane. Here is the pole and these are the zeros, and here is the frequency response, magnitude and phase, magnitude in decibels and phase in degrees. Next we have task number 7, explain the graphs output in terms of the frequency versus z-planes, poles and zeros. This is the code same as previous tasks we have done, and this is the code in MATLAB. So the output for this is here, pole zero plot in z-plane, and the frequency response for the magnitude in decibels is here, and the phase in degrees is here. Next we have task number 8, explain the graphs output in terms of the frequency versus z-planes, poles and zeros. This is the code, and the MATLAB code is here, and the output for this task is here. Here's the pole zero plot for this task, and this is the frequency response for this task. The next task for this lab is explain the graphs output in terms of frequency versus z-planes, poles and zeros. Same as in previous tasks we have done. This task is have same, and the code for this in MATLAB is here. And when we see the output, there is plot of pole zeros, and here is frequency response, magnitude in decibels and phase in degrees. Next is task number 10, explain the graphs output in terms of frequency versus z-planes and poles and zeros. So in MATLAB we have this code output as this is pole zero plot, and this is the frequency response, magnitude in decibels, and phase in degrees. Next is task number 11, which is explain the graphs output in terms of frequency versus z planes, poles, and zeros. This is the code, and in MATLAB it will be the output. This is the output pole zero plot in z plane, and this is the frequency response, and this magnitude in decibels, and this phase in degrees. So the last task for this lab is task number 12, and explain the graphs output in terms of the frequency versus z planes, poles, and zeros. This is the code, and the MATLAB for this is here. Output is like this. These are poles or for the unit circle, pole zero plot in z plane, and this is the frequency response, magnitude in decibels, have linear response, and this is the phase in degrees. Thank you.